Well, hello. My name is Roy Biancalana, and I am very excited to be one of the trainers in this summit called the Real and Authentic Dating Forum. I love the title, and as I share some things with you, you will see why. Because being real, being authentic is the way I have discovered, both personally and professionally, leads to what we most want, which are healthy, satisfying, sustainable relationships. Now, I am a relationship coach slash trainer, and I'll tell you why I call myself a trainer in just a minute. But I have been working with people for about the last 30 years in some aspect of their spiritual, emotional relationship development. So I have spent the better part of my life trying to understand how to make a relationship work. Both friendship relationships, professional relationships, sibling relationships, parent-child relationships, but mostly the intimate one. And I'm going to share some perspectives with you today that, um, well, I'm hoping and I think they're going to be quite different from what you normally hear, which would be a good thing. Why would you want to hear everybody say basically the same thing? Now, I don't know what everybody else is going to say, so I'm taking a chance with that. But I think the perspective I'm going to share is going to be really interesting to you, I think very powerful, and maybe quite different. So right now in my coaching practice, I work with people who are single but don't want to be. I actually help people become more self-aware, to do the inner work, to discover why their love life is not the way they want it to be, or why they are attracting, the wrong kinds of partners, why they get in patterns and dynamics, why the relationships turn out to be disappointing or painful. I help people sort of wake up to themselves, to discover what they might not know about themselves, what they are unconscious of, that are attracting and creating these dynamics. So the work that I do with people, both on an individual basis, and I also do group coaching programs, it's deep work. It's not easy. One of the reasons I don't call myself a dating coach is because what I have learned, there's a number of things I've learned over the years of this kind of discussion. But one of the major things I've learned is that the question most people ask when they want to meet someone special and create a relationship that lasts and they want a love life that's meaningful, the question most people ask is, where do I go to meet someone like that? Where do I go? How do I approach them? What do I say? How do I flirt? How do I create chemistry? How do I create an attraction? In other words, the question they ask is, how do I find the person that I have on my vision board or on my list of qualities or the person I'm praying for on my knees? How do I find that person? What I have found is that that's an important question, and it's not worthy of discussion. But what I have found is that it really is putting the cart before the horse. It's not the most important question. It's not really the question you should be asking. It's a question, but it's down the road, 3, 4, 5 questions down. The first question that we should be asking is, what's going on with me that's keeping me from finding that person? What blocks, what barriers, what kind of unconscious self-sabotaging beliefs do I have that are keeping that person I want from connecting with me? There's a quote by an old mystic prophet. His name is Rumi. I think he was in the 13th century, okay? And one of his most famous sayings is a saying that I basically build all of my work around. And he said something to the effect of, don't seek for love, but instead seek for all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Now sit with that for a second, because that goes against everything you basically hear in the world today about how to find your soulmate and about how to attract a life partner. The basic message is seek for love, seek the partner, try to find the one. And Rumi, 700, 800 years ago, basically said, don't do that. Don't seek for love, but look inside. Seek for the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. See, so what he's saying is the reason your love life is not the way you want it to be, it's not because you haven't found the one. It's because you're blocking it somehow and you don't know it. You've built barriers. You've got blocks. Now, a number of those things could be, how has your childhood affected your ability to relate in a healthy way? Very often we don't know. Does your personality have blind spots that are sabotaging you? Do you have what I call a relationship persona? A way that you believe you need to behave or be or show up to be attractive to people, but it might not be your authentic self. Or do you have a limiting belief about intimacy, about love, about the opposite sex, about yourself? See? So Rumi was saying, don't put any attention on how do I find someone? Where do I go? What do I say? How do I approach? Put the attention on what you're not seeing about yourself. And that's what I do as a coach. And if you get nothing else from what I have to say, if you make that shift from asking questions about where do I meet this person to how am I sabotaging myself and I don't even know it, then you are on a path to incredible self-awareness and growth. And I can tell you this because this is what I've experienced in my own personal life, not to mention hundreds and hundreds of clients when they've made this shift from where do I find them to what's going on in here. When they make that shift, all of a sudden, the barriers get taken away. The blockages get released. The self-sabotaging behaviors fall away, and then love flows. Okay? So the reason I bring this up is because I was as guilty of this as anyone. Like, I should tell you very briefly why I'm a coach. It's not because it's a great profession, even though it is. It's not because, you know, the independence, the income, the impact I make as a coach. I'm not really a coach for those reasons, even though I train people on how to be coaches. I'm a coach for very personal reasons. My love life was a disaster for years. I went through a divorce. I got dumped by a fiance. I had a bunch of drama-filled relationships. I write about it in some of my books. By the way, I've written 3 books. 2 of them are over my shoulder right here. That's my newest one, Relationship Bootcamp. But I had a terrible relationship history. And a friend of mine suggested that maybe I should hire a coach. Because up until that time, I just thought that I had picked the wrong women, that my love life was not very good because of my ex-wife, because of my ex-fiance, because of all those women that have all those problems. And then it sort of dawned on me that I was the common denominator in all of those relationships. Maybe it wasn't them. Maybe it was me. Maybe I was showing up with childhood patterns, relationship personas, personality blind spots, limiting beliefs. Maybe that was why my love life was so messed up. And of course, that was true. But I hired a coach. And that was so transformative for me, changed my life, that I've met, dated, fell in love with, married to an amazing woman. We're together now for 12 years. And she's just the sweetheart, okay? So I became a coach because I think there's so many people like me that have a terrible relationship history and they don't know what to do or where to turn or what's wrong. Like, what is going on? How come some people seem to meet people and fall in love and they seem pretty happy? Why not me? So because I went down that journey and a coach asked me some very specific questions, asked me to look inside myself and not focus on her. That changed my life so much that when I came through that process, man, that's what I want to do. I want to do for you what my coach did for me. Because the changes that I've experienced in the love life that I'm now experiencing are not because of me. It's not because I'm special or lucky. It's just because I went through a certain process. I asked certain questions. And I looked in certain places. All of that is repeatable for you. So if you do the same things I did, you can get the same results I got. And that's why I'm a coach, because I want to help people who want to ask the question that I did, which is, why does my love life suck? And what can I do about it? All right. Now, building on that, I want to give you a metaphor that sort of ties this all together and ties into all the things that I want to share with you today. And the metaphor is, instead of thinking me as a relationship coach and you as a person who wants to have a great relationship with someone, think of me. I'll start with you. Think of you like you want to run a triathlon. Okay, just imagine you're a crazy person that wants to swim 2.5 miles in the ocean and then ride 112 miles on the bike and then immediately do a marathon back to back to back. Okay, imagine you're that kind of a crazy person. And also imagine that I'm a triathlon coach. Okay, so you want to be successful in the triathlon and you're going to hire me as your coach to help you be successful in what you want to do. Okay, so we get together and you start peppering me with questions. It's fantastic. You start asking me like, Roy, how do I survive that first part in the water when it's just, pandemonium and you can get drowned? How do I survive that? And then the transitions between the water and the bike and the running, how do I do all that? And when should I eat? How much should I eat? Because this can be anywhere from a 6 to an 8 hour deal to do a triathlon. I think 8 hours is like one of the world records. So, when do I eat? How much water do I drink? And then during the course, when do I speed up? When do I slow down? And so as you're asking me these questions, it's starting to occur to me. I'm like, there's a problem here. This person who wants to be successful in a triathlon is asking me questions about race day. Like, what do I do during the race, on the day of the race? Now, those are kind of important questions, no doubt. But as a triathlon coach who's run many triathlons, I haven't, but play with me here. But as a triathlon coach, I know that the questions about the actual race are not the important ones. They're okay, but that's not what you should be asking me about. As a triathlon coach, you should be asking me about how to train to get in shape to do all of that. Does that make sense? Like, you could have the best race day strategy in the world, but if you show up on the starting line and you're 50 pounds overweight, you ain't going to make it. You ain't going to make it 100 yards in the water. You follow me? That is the perfect metaphor for your love life. You're a person that wants to meet someone, and I'm a relationship coach, and we could get together. And you know what you're liable to ask me? Where do I go? What do I say? How do I approach? How do I flirt? Chemistry, compatibility. That's race day, meaning that's the moment when you're standing in front of someone or you're attempting to meet them. That's what I call the starting line. When you're meeting or approaching or interacting with someone you meet online or otherwise, that's race day. That is not the questions you should be asking me. The questions you should be asking me is, how do I get myself in shape so that when I get on the starting line, I can go the distance? How do I get myself in relationship shape? How do I get my relationship muscles strong so that when I do get on the starting line and I do meet this person, whether it's randomly through the course of life or through online, when I do end up standing right in front of them, face to face, they shoot the gun, we're off, right? Our relationship is very new, but we're getting going. If you are not in shape, you're going to mess it up. If your relationship muscles are not strong, and I'm going to discuss a couple of them today. If you're not prepared for something real and authentic, you will never experience something real and authentic. So again, I'm pounding home this point that it's not about race day. It's not about how do I meet someone? Where do I go? How do I flirt? It's not, what do I say? How do I get someone to want my number? It's not about that. It's about, are you in shape for something real? Are you ready to go deep? Now, here's the thing, and you might not like me for saying this to you, but it was true of me. I thought that I was in pretty damn good relationship shape. I wasn't. I was a joke. I was fat and obese relationally. I was out of shape, terribly out of shape. How do I know that? Look at the results of my love life. Divorce, dumped by a fiance, bunch of drama-filled relationships. So if you're on this, if you're in this summit, that means your love life isn't very good, right? Otherwise you would be home with your wife or husband. You wouldn't be here if your love life was great. So I'm concerned that you might think that you are in better relationship shape than you actually are. And that would be a disaster. Now, I'm not encouraging you to beat yourself up and blame yourself and, shame yourself and, self-hatred. I'm not saying that. I'm asking, are you willing to look in the mirror and say, maybe I need to get in better shape? Maybe I need to work on myself. Maybe my love life hasn't been so good because some of my inner relationship muscles aren't so healthy. So let's talk about a couple of those, because in my newest book, there it is right there, Relationship Bootcamp, I discuss 7 of them, 7 relationship muscles that need to be strong if you want a relationship that's healthy and satisfying, okay? So the way I describe them is, well, let me just jump into a couple of them. The first one may be the stickiest and the most uncomfortable, but one of your relationship muscles is your relationship to your past, okay? A lot of us have been through some very painful things in our past, whether it was childhood, adolescence, teenage, college, last week, okay? Most of us have been hurt, betrayed, deceived, lied to, possibly cheated on. We might have abuse in our background. We might have real challenges from past relationships. It's human. Happens to all of us. The question is, how is that stuff impacting your ability to have an open heart with someone new? One of the biggest issues we face in life is having trust issues. The ability to meet someone with a clean emotional slate, to meet someone and have your heart be wide open and present and available and not guarded, walled off, and protected. But when the past is still alive in us, when we haven't processed and worked through some of our pain, the betrayal, the hurt, the deception, it kind of stays alive in us, and we can have a wall be built around our hearts. A wall that will keep you safe, but it will keep you single. Okay? So it's very difficult when you have been cheated on, when you've been manipulated, ghosted, gaslighted. Perhaps you've attracted some narcissists. I mean, there's all these things that can happen. That's not easy to let that stuff go. Here's what happens. When it's still kind of alive in you, you bring it and you project it onto the next person you meet. In other words, you're going to be suspicious or guarded or tentative with this next person because of what that one did to you. You follow me? Now, we all know intellectually that's not fair to the new person. The new person had nothing to do with that one. Just because that guy or that girl cheated doesn't mean you will. But in us, it certainly does. We can be looking for things that can give us evidence. It's called confirmation bias in psychology. We could be looking for things, certain behaviors, certain things people say, oh, he's a player, he's a cheater, just like that one, right? So your past stays alive in you and you can project it on people, and it's a way of keeping people at arm's distance. Okay, so one of the relationship muscles that you have to have strong is your relationship to your past. I mean, you got to let that stuff go. You've got to learn from it, learn the lessons from the past, become wiser, but not become closed or jaded or suspicious or having trust issues. You follow me? That's a huge issue, okay? And that's a big part of what I do with my clients. And by the way, if you ever want to explore working with me, I do a free consultation, okay? So no pressure. I don't have to pressure people. What we do is sells itself in a sense. But your relationship to the past, do you have some baggage? I mean, who doesn't have baggage? I often make the joke, the only people in the world that don't have baggage are the little babies in the maternity ward. Everybody after that has got some baggage from things that have happened with them. That's not the problem. The problem is we don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to let it go. We don't know how to leave it in the past and be able to go forward without carrying all that junk that we know keeps our hearts closed, unavailable, and keeps people at a distance, and it sabotages the whole thing. Right? That's just one of the 7 muscles. Another one, in alignment with what this summit's all about, the real and authentic dating forum, is your relationship to what I call your inner truth. Your relationship to what's going on inside of you. This is your communication muscle. Now, most people think they're pretty good communicators, but I have found over the years that once you understand what real and authentic communication is really about, most people get a big lump in their throat. Oh God, is that what it means? So I often ask my clients this: would you rather be in a relationship that is characterized by people playing games, manipulating, withholding, half truths, deception, Do you want to be in a relationship where you guys play games, or do you want to be in a relationship where people are open, honest, and authentic? Well, the answer is obvious until you know what I mean by that. Have you noticed that you have a fear of being rejected, a fear of being judged, a fear of, if a person knew this about me or about my past, or this opinion I hold, or this issue I'm facing, they might not like me? Of course you have, right? One of the most common things is you meet someone, there's some attraction, even from the very beginning, and you want them to like you. You want a relationship to develop. So what happens in the mind is your mind starts to sort of be your inner relationship coach. And it's not a good one. And it starts to tell you how to play the game. So you can't tell them that. You can't admit that on the first date. You can't open up about that issue because, oh, they would run away. Oh, they would think you're neurotic. They would think you're needy. They would think that you're desperate. They would think that you're nuts. They would think you're high maintenance. So I want to project an image that I think this person would really respond to. So I'm going to put forward the parts of me that I think will be met with appreciation and love. And I'm maybe going to hold back the parts of me that could get me rejected or misunderstood or judged. That's playing games. And you do it. I do it. We do it all the time until we wake up to it, until we see it happening, until we see how much fear we have around potential partners. We just want to be liked. And so we start to be afraid of rejection and being judged. And then we start sharing the truth that we think they will find attractive and holding the part that we think they might not. Now that sets the relationship up to be a relationship where you're not real and authentic. You're playing a game. You're coming from fear. So I often teach my students, there's two motivations in your communication mindset. There's two motivations behind your words. You are either speaking from trust or you're speaking from fear. Okay? Now, what do I mean by speaking from trust? When you're speaking from a place where you feel grounded and connected to life itself, trusting that you are okay, you will be okay, you are available and open to a relationship, but you don't need one. You don't need to play a game. I'm trusting that if this is the right person for me, I'm going to just be me. I'm going to be very candid. I'm going to be very transparent. I'm going to be very authentic. And they could reject me. They could judge me. That's okay. That just means we're not a good fit. In other words, when you're coming from trust, you're free to just be yourself. And if they like what they see, right? I often call it dating naked. Just you're exposed. No secrets here. I'm not going to play that game. You know, I am who I am. Take a look, warts and all. I'm not going to hold back the things I think you might not like. Oh, I've got 3 kids. I don't want to tell that person that on the first date, you know, or whatever. I'm separated. My divorce is not yet over. Oh, I can't say something like that to someone because that would just chase them off. Or you're feeling really lonely, you know, needy, and you're just yeah, you just want to connect with someone and you feel the pain in your heart. And oh, I could never tell someone I just met that I feel lonely and I'm really wanting to meet somebody special. Well, because that would scare them off. That right. So I could never really tell them what I'm really feeling. Like on a first date, in your head, you're like, our kids would be beautiful. Like, you're already like, I'm in love with this person. This is like, oh, but I could never say that to him. I could never say, I'm over here telling stories about how beautiful our children would be. That's how much I'm into you. Oh, I could never give them that power over me by telling them that I'm just smitten with them. All right, then play the game. Play the game. But when you come from trust, you can just be with whatever is real for you. Because I don't need you. I trust that life is going to give me the person that I'm supposed to be with. But I'm going to be in integrity with who I am. I'm not going to play some game. I'm not going to try to get you to fall in love with a version I showed you. See, because if I get you to love the version I show you, I never feel secure. Because, oh, you might find out about that part eventually. The other shoe might drop. So many people never feel secure in a relationship because the person has fallen in love with the parts of them they've shown. And they live with the fear of being found out. Okay? That's what we do. That's no fun. But if you're coming from trust, I don't care if you want to trust God or if you want to call it the universe or universal energy, I don't care what you call it. But if you feel grounded and connected to something bigger than a person, that you are not lonely, that you are not disconnected, that you are whole and complete unto yourself. When you're coming from there, you reveal in order to relate, but it's a risk because they might not like your nakedness. They might not like what they see. But if you're coming from trust, that's okay. It's not personal. But you're free to be you. See, that's what all of us want to be like. But most of us operate by fear. So in the fear category, when you're coming from fear, you conceal in order to control. And then you have to calculate. So when you're coming from fear and you're playing that game of pretending, putting on airs, there's a pretense, you're trying to get them to like you. And so you're calculating inside of you, what do I say? You know, if they're rude to a server on our first date, well, I don't want to call them out and say, man, dude, you were really rude. That was a big turnoff to me. They might walk out, right? So I got to calculate what I'm going to say, how I'm going to say it. When am I going to say it? Should I say it? Should I reveal this about myself? Should I say this or tell them about that life situation? So you get in this kind of angst in here, right? It's just, it's exhausting to try to play the game, to calculate. But that's what we do. We conceal in order to control. And then you have to calculate. Okay? So if you want a healthy, sustainable relationship, if like this summit, if you want something real and authentic, you have to decide, are you going to be motivated by trust or fear? Are you going to be naked and unashamed? Like most of us know the story of Genesis chapter 2, whether you buy all that stuff or not, that doesn't matter. But you remember Adam and Eve were together. It says they were together in the garden and they were both naked and unashamed. Okay? Now that doesn't mean they didn't have clothes. Okay? That doesn't mean they hadn't gone down to the Paradise Mall and bought some Calvin Kleins. It means that they were exposed to one another, that there were no secrets. They weren't hiding anything. Nothing was hidden. They were bare. They were naked. They really saw each other without shame. Adam looked at Eve and said, I see all of you, the good stuff and the bad stuff. I see your perfections. I see your flaws. and I love you. And she looked at Adam and said, I see your good character qualities, and I see the stuff that, I see all of you, because Adam is showing he's not playing the game. They're naked and unashamed. That's the kind of relationship that you can have. But it starts with you and I deciding, having the guts to trust life with how our love lives unfold, and quit trying to control everything. You know, we're like the Wizard of Oz in our love lives, man. We're behind the curtain. You know, we're pulling the levers, we're turning the knobs, and you know, we're trying to orchestrate the whole thing. We're trying to manage it. We're trying to control how people think of us. And I don't want to get rejected. I don't want to be judged. I'll show you this. I won't show you that. It's exhausting, but that's what we do. And we have to decide if our communication muscle is going to be strong, meaning that are we going to come from trust and just reveal in order to relate and take the risk? Or are we going to do what we always do, which is conceal in order to control, and then we have to calculate how to play the game? Okay? That is an extremely important issue in terms of your training. And now we could talk about your relationship to your feelings, to your emotions, and your ability to be with somebody else's feelings and emotions, right? That's another huge issue. How are we with our own feelings? Do we blame people for our feelings? Do we want people to take care of our feelings? Do we avoid our own feelings? Do we distract ourselves from them? Do we spiritualize them? Do we analyze them? And we can have a very warped relationship to our own feelings of loneliness, anxiety, depression, anger, fear, sadness, worry, right? And the way we relate to what's going on inside of us affects how we relate to other people. But we also can be kind of messed up on how to deal with somebody else's emotions. Like, I've always had a problem with women's anger directed at me. That's from my mother in my relationship. I had to work on that a lot to be able to remain present and open and available when a woman was angry with me. Usually I would get defensive and fight back, or just walk away or dismiss them, right? If you can't handle a partner's emotions, whether it's fear, sadness, anger, sexual feelings, if you're not emotionally intelligent with your feelings and other people, you're going to have a terrible love life, right? Because it's the emotional level, that's the connection point in a relationship, right? I mean, that's how you relate with people, is through your experience and their experience. And relationships are emotionally based. Most of us are not smarter than a fifth grader when it comes to emotions, okay? And that's not a judgment. I was, man, I'm still weak in that area. I think that muscle in me still needs to be stronger, right? So now we've touched on 3 of these muscles. And these are the things that Rumi was talking about when he said, seek and find the barriers within yourself that are blocking love. Because if your communication muscle is not healthy, if your relationship to your feelings and other people's feelings, your ability to be a good listener, if that isn't healthy, you're screwed. And if your relationship to your past is alive in you and poisoning your ability to trust, right? Now there's a relationship to your thinking. You know all the stories your mind tells you about what this means and what that means, how it interprets everything and tries to figure everything out, and it's always wrong, okay? So I'm gonna stop there, because all I'm really wanting to do in this conversation is convince you to get in shape, to convince you that you need to work on yourself if you want a great love life. It's not about finding someone. It's about being relationally fit and ready for whenever the universe decides to put you face to face with that person. I mean, I met my current wife. I sat down next to her in a personal growth conference. I just sat, she was the prettiest woman in the room. I just went in there and sat down next to her. right? But when we met, she had been in therapy for a couple of years, working on her relationship muscles because she was messed up in her past. She was through a divorce and all that kind of stuff. And I had worked for a couple of years with my coach. When we met each other, we were ready for something real. And we immediately connected and flirted, and the rest is history. But the success of our relationship was not about what I did and said in that moment. It was the condition of my soul that I had worked on. And that's what I'm challenging you to pay attention to. And I hope I've described a few of these muscles: the feelings muscle, the communication muscle, the relationship with your past muscle, the relationship with that voice in your head, which is maybe your worst enemy. I hope I've convinced you to say, you know what, maybe I need to do a little relationship training. Now, I'm going to wrap up by telling you about a free gift I offer. And the link is going to be below this video. And if for some reason it's not, you can find it on the homepage of my website, coachingwithroy.com. Okay? So either it's right below this video or it's on the homepage of my website. I have created a relationship fitness self-assessment test. In other words, I said this earlier, most of us overestimate how relationally fit we are. Okay? It's just the way the ego works. We always think it's somebody else's problem, somebody else's fault. So I maintain that most of us are not in very good relationship shape. The evidence is the way our love lives have been and the way they are. Okay? But still, some people, they don't believe me. So I had this idea, which I think was really a great idea, is what if I created a 30-question true-false test that you could just answer the questions, and the system would evaluate your answers and spit out immediately your relationship fitness level. Are you ripped? Are you skinny fat? Are you overweight? Are you unhealthy? Or are you dangerously out of shape? The test is really accurate. Now, most people, when they take it, they don't get as good a result as they think, but that makes sense, doesn't it? Again, if your love life was spectacular, you wouldn't be listening to this. So if your love life isn't satisfying and is not very good, then there's a good chance that you're not in good enough shape, okay? Now, I'll tell you real quick that even though I wrote the test myself, I think it was like a year ago, thousands of people have taken it. I took the test myself and I tried to answer the questions from the state of mind I had 15 years ago before I had hired a coach and done my work, okay? And I tabulated my own results, and I was in the lowest category possible. And so was my wife. We were both dangerously out of shape. And it made sense. Her love life wasn't any good. Mine was a disaster, okay? What's your relationship fitness level? Shouldn't you find that out? Like if you buy anything I have said today, that your relationship fitness level is the thing that's going to affect your love life, whether you attract something beautiful and sustainable, or whether whatever patterns you've been in, whatever drama you've been in, continue. If you buy the point that it's about what's going on in you, and it's not about that you haven't found the right person yet, if you buy that, then I would think you'd be really interested in, well, what's my fitness level? Okay? And you can blow off the results that you get. You don't have to take them seriously, although you should. So you can take the test. It takes about 4 minutes to take it. 30 true-false questions. Your answers and your results, totally confidential. Even I don't see them, okay? I can't get in the system and see them. That's the way I designed it, because I want you to feel like you can do this and only you are going to know what your results are. But you will immediately get an email telling you which of those 5 categories that you're in, and you're going to get a list of recommendations, like this is what you should do. Given your fitness level, do this and this and this. So it's real practical. It doesn't give you whatever fitness level and then leave you hanging. No, it comes back with, here's a training program. Here's a workout program. Here's what you do given your current relationship fitness level. So I hope you click on that link or go to coachingwithroy.com and get your fitness level. It's more important than your credit rating. It's more important than how much money you got in the bank. It's more important than pretty much anything else. How evolved am I? How ready am I for something real and authentic? Well, I'll stop here. I want to appreciate you for your time to stick with this, and know that I am available for one-on-one coaching. I do group coaching things. All that stuff is on my website. You can find it there, coachingwithroy.com. But let me know if I can help you. Let me know if I can be your relationship trainer, because I'm telling you, it's the pathway to authentic intimacy. Take care. I wish you all the best.